All right, let's go to Susan in Phoenix. What's up, Susan?
Hi, Dr. John. It's great to speak to you today.
You too. What's up?
Well, I'm a co-owner of a small business, and one of my roles at the company is to manage HR in the office. So, hiring, firing.
How small is your office?
Issues. We have about 10 people at any given time, so it's pretty small.
HR,
so I get
HR in an office of 10 people is like managing brothers and sisters and cousins.
Exactly.
And there's always a couple of weird cousins. Oh, geez. Good for you. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So sorry, I interrupted you. Yeah, what's up?
No worries. So I've noticed kind of an increase in mental health issues that have arisen probably since COVID, but frankly, just generally speaking, I think the world is kind of creating a lot more mental health issues in people. So my broad question is, just in my role, how do I show empathy and compassion for individual struggles while still getting work done in the office and getting productivity out of my staff? So, people are struggling with depression. They have, divorce issues that I've been encountering, marital problems, crippling anxiety. These are all things that are really impacting, their productivity. So, do you have any suggestions? And I can get into specifics if that would help.
Let me make some broad suggestions and then come back if I don't answer your question, okay?
Okay.
And I'm having this conversation all over the country. I've talked to business leaders all over the United States on how to create these systems in their businesses. And here's a couple of operating principles for how to do this, okay? So first and foremost, good for you for being a business owner that cares. Good grief. Thank you.
Thank you.
For not treating your customers like widgets. Or like robots for you to make more money. Thank you for being somebody who sees people as humans. That's awesome. So yes, there is an influx. There's just a kind of a big reveal, and it happened overnight here in the country. We're all kind of figuring out what to do with it. Everybody's talking about mental health stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it's suddenly overnight become okay to tell your boss, I'm depressed, or I've been diagnosed with OCD or something like that. There's also been what I would say not healthy oversharing that has happened. And I think it's chat rooms or something have bled over into real life where people are announcing in staff meeting, I cheated on my wife and now she's left me. And it's like, whoa. Dude, we make boxes. Like that's between you and your therapist and you and your pastor or whoever, you and your friends. And so there's been this weird culture of oversharing that's emerged overnight. And here's the deal. It's a weird moment in history where somebody can drop that kind of grenade, and if you say the wrong thing, you're the bad guy.
Right.
Like if you stumble over like, you're evil because you didn't fill in the blank, right? You didn't accept me or you judged me or now I'm more anxious or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I'll give you three things that I would recommend you do to create a culture of both mental health and, hey, we still have a business to run here, okay? It's compassionate, but it's also we got stuff we got to do, okay? The first one is this is about relationships with appropriate distance. And you're going to let your people know, hey, we are a safe place. If you're struggling, let us know, and we will support you the best we can. Here's what support means. I do not want to know your diagnosis unless it's coming from a medical doctor and you need an ADA accommodation for your workplace. I don't want you, don't ever come in and say, I've never told anybody this, but I'll stop somebody and say, whoa. I shouldn't be the first person you tell. I don't even know what you're about to say, but it shouldn't be me. I don't know you that well. I'm your boss. Or you might tell me something that as your supervisor, I have to act on. Okay? If somebody comes in and says, hey, I'm really struggling with anxiety. When I get anxious, I steal stuff. Well, you can't work here if you're stealing from us. And the response isn't, oh, I've got anxiety though. No, you can't steal. It's both and. Okay? So I tell people, this is a safe place. Here's what that looks like. Hey, I've been struggling a lot. I'm seeing a counselor. Can I knock off at 4 once a week? Absolutely. I'll even pay you for that hour. That's what relationship with appropriate distance looks like. Hey, everybody, I've posted a list of 10 counselors in this local area, and I posted it in the break room, and I've got to deal with them. If you tell them you work at our place, I'm going to pick up 25% or half the tab. So your visit will be $50. Go in there. You don't even have to let me know. They'll just bill me directly.
Okay.
Okay. That's way, like, you are letting them know you care about them. Here's a resource. But I don't know what to do when you tell me you have major depressive disorder and you can't come to work, but you still need me to pay you. I don't know. I'm not trained to deal with that. I'm not trained to deal with your suicide response. That's why if you tell me you're suicidal, I'm calling 911 every single time, because that's not my core competency. I'm not trained in that. Okay.
Okay.
And you're providing them resources to the professionals that can get them the help they really need. Right.
Right.
The second thing is this, and this isn't popular, but this is reality. Mental health challenges in the workplace are a context, not an excuse. Okay?
Yeah.
I am a guy who has suffered profoundly from anxiety in the past. I don't struggle at all with it anymore, not even a little bit. But in the past, it laid me low. I had two responsibilities there. One, I had to get my job done that my boss was paying me to do. And I had to do the work on my own to go get well. And in my particular office place, I let people know, a few people privately, hey, I've got to knock off to go see a counselor. Is that cool? Absolutely. That's great. Hey, I'm not going to be able to come to this event tomorrow night because it's when me and my wife go to marriage counseling and I'm going to have to miss it. Great. Or, hey, I've got to move my counseling appointment because I've got this really important work thing and I can't miss it. Okay. Or my wife and I took a $70,000 household income pay cut to go from me running an entire university to us moving to another city and me taking a assignment with several hundred students instead of several thousand students, so that for the next several years I could get myself well. That was on me, not on the other institution. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's a context, not an excuse. If the job comes second to it ends up dishonoring the person down that has hired you guys for help, for your service. It's a dishonoring to them if the job doesn't get done. And someone can say, hey, I just woke up this morning with lots of anxiety. I'm just not coming in today. That's not an acceptable response.
Yeah, that's what's happened historically.
Okay. So they can wake up and have anxiety. And if you have a business that allows them to come in late, great. Sometimes people are like frontline customers. I need someone to unlock the door. And you can't call me 15 minutes before work starts and say, oh, I've got anxiety this morning, and so I'm not going to be there. That's unethical. It's not integrous, okay? It might be that I got to get myself to the office and open the door, and I'm going to call some people to come in and cover my shift for me because I got to go. And I've been there before. I got to get out of here, but I still had to go open the door. And maybe it's creating a phone tree so that if somebody wakes up and they are really struggling and you've met with them and you've got a note from their therapist or from the ADA office or whatever, that you've got a phone tree that person can reach out and call, but it's going to be their responsibility to make that call. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
It's a both and. You have to take care of business. You can't just not show up to work, or you can't work here. Okay.
Right.
Here's the third one. You have to model this. You have to model it. That means you have to be open about what you are experiencing and your personal challenges with appropriate boundaries. Okay.
Meaning that I'm supposed to tell them what's going on with other people, or
no, never ever do that.
Myself.
I'm saying here, if you are struggling with something, if you get tired, if you get exhausted, you get burned out, you're going to marriage counseling. That during a staff meeting, you let everybody know, hey, I'm knocking off on Tuesday because I'm seeing a professional to work through some stuff. You are modeling, oh, that's okay. And you're also modeling, I'm not telling you that I've got depression. I'm not telling you that my husband cheated on me and we're going to marriage counseling. I'm not telling you any of the gory details. I'm just telling you that I'm going to take care of myself. And then later on, you point back to the way you did it as the model. So when someone says, I'm struggling, say, stop, whoa. Remember when I did it? I let you all know I'm going to get help and care. What your diagnosis is between you and your therapist, between you and your doctor.
Right.
Does that make sense? And you got to come to work. You got to be at work.
So So for people that aren't coming into work, because that's kind of one of the issues with around anxiety, do you allow them to work remotely? My fear is that they're not going to work remotely, or do you let them take the time off, but then it impacts other people that have to take over their workload. At some point it's just not going to work out, but up until then, how do I handle that sort of a situation?
I don't have any problem, and this isn't popular with large corporations. When you get super big, it becomes very unwieldy, and so that's where you get these big blanket policies that we don't do this or we do this. When you have a staff of 10, I like it how my boss Dave Ramsey did it once. He stood up and said, "We are growing company size, and there's a particular leader who's got a particular situation, and I'm the boss, and so here's how I'm helping him out. Here's how I'm helping her out." And it was a one-off situation, and there's been multiple one-offs here at where I work at Ramsey Solutions. Every leader's got the ability to do some one-offs with their people, but here's the catch: for a limited time. So it might be someone come in and say, "I am doubled over with anxiety. I'm really struggling. I just can't breathe. I need some time." And you might be able to say, "I can do 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, someone else is going to pick up your shift. You are going to have to come up in that 2 weeks with, are you able to work here to get your job done? Do you have a workable solution? We are a work in the office company, and so we are not ever going to transition to fully remote. And so, or we are slowly moving towards remote. We're going to practice it, and we're going to let you be the guinea pig," right? But I don't have any problem with one-offs. What I don't like about one-offs is when they become very secret. "Hey, don't tell anybody, but I'm going to let you do." I wouldn't do it like that, because it never stays secret. And then it can be discriminatory. You let that person do it. It's better just to open it up to the floor. So-and-so said I could share with y'all that she's really struggling or he's really struggling. And so for the next 2 weeks, they're not going to be here. It means you're going to have to pick up a little extra. It means you have to pick up a little extra. And then within 2 weeks, we're going to have a resolution on what happens next.
Okay.
But it's time limited, right? And it might be you need to reach out. I wouldn't even get in the business of calling the therapist. I take that back, but it's time limiting. And at some point you have to sit down and say, "Hey, you're unable to complete the core tasks of this job. The bona fide occupational requirements of this position," right? And this is a hard conversation. And maybe
I think the workable solution idea is a good one. Because one thought I had was, well, you give them a month to not do that anymore. But then if there's no solution attached to it, they'll just resort back to doing it when they return. So
right, and I want people to struggle with: is this anxiety or is this exhaustion? Is my body sounding the alarms that I need to go get help? Or I'm just annoyed this morning, I don't feel like going in. Because all of us have those days. All of us do. And I remember how hard it was when I was trying to relearn what my body was trying to tell me. And my signals were all jumbled up because I ignored them for so long, and I wallpapered over them with busyness and work and my crushing it workout plan, all these different addictions I had over it. And ultimately, I had to learn, okay, this is my body saying things are not as they should be. This is anxiety. This is what this feels like. This is me being really exhausted. This is me having a large pizza and half a 2-liter bottle of Coke all by myself. This is, all right, fill in the blank, fill in the blank, fill in the blank. So I do get, it takes some time to parse that apart. And I want people to struggle with that. I think that's the path to healing for all of us. The challenge as an employer is you can't do other people's healing for them. They've got to be invested in it themselves. Again, thank you for being somebody who cares, Susan. Try these out: relationships, but appropriate distance, context, not an excuse, but not an excuse, and model it. Give those a shot, and then holler back at me if I can help moving forward.